All right, good evening and welcome to the Acton School Committee on Thursday, October 14th, 2021. It's 5 o'clock and we will begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pretty soon we're going to change that.
Okay. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda tonight?
There are no adjustments, but number 11, executive session, we will meet briefly for personnel matters.
Okay. Okay, any comments from the public? Yeah?
Yeah, briefly. I know Sanford High School implemented pool testing, and I was wondering if that is going to be implemented here.
We are aware of it, and Carol and I have talked about it a little bit, but we don't really have any plans at this time to implement pool testing.
Okay. And then I have another one.
Okay.
Now that I'm up here. Mandating the vaccines, do you think it's going to be
You mean
applied here? The vaccine for elementary from 5 to 12?
for students?
Yes.
Sure. As vaccines are not mandated by state law for anybody who works in a school,
Okay,
and we are making no action to mandate that locally in our school department.
okay.
I would say at this time, Virginia, without any more information, knowing what the future holds,
Right,
I don't see it.
Okay.
I don't see it. They may see it differently
Are you
than I do.
talking
I'm just
about-
speaking from now.
Are you talking about children or
Children
adults?
vaccine.
Children.
Children.
Mandating.
Yes. From 5 to 12 years.
Right,
Was
not
just
unless
curious.
it,
Yeah.
gets to the place where, like measles and some of those other things that are.
There are vaccinations under state law.
There are mandates for some
Right.
other things, but
But this one has
No.
so much controversy that I don't.
You are speaking specifically of mandating a COVID vaccine for children
Correct.
under 12 years old.
Correct.
Because there is a whole set of laws around mandating.
No, I understand that.
The answer, then my answer stands. We're not doing it currently for employees, and I don't, if things didn't change and the state didn't force our hand
Okay.
at this date, at this time, I always like to say that because things change so quickly.
No, I understand.
There's no plans for that.
Okay, I was just curious.
You bet.
Right.
All right, thank you,
Yeah.
girls. Just-
okay, no other public? All right, let us go on to
Get up.
the celebration of learning.
So it was a couple of things I wanted to do tonight. One I'm able to do, one I'm not. One of them was I wanted to bring in the soccer team to introduce themselves to you, because they've had a pretty good year. They've really done well. Well, the soccer team's playing in Saco tonight, so they're not here. And my other thing I wanted to do was have Sally Puffer come in and talk a little bit about the STEAM program that we talked about in the spring when we moved some funds to support and start her program. And she's at the soccer game because she has 2 players. So she put together a quick presentation, and then there's a video after. And I think between Lori and I, we could probably answer most of the questions. But as you can see, this is just a 2-slide presentation she built for me just to kind of read to you. The intent of STEAM is to allow students to apply learning in a hands-on manner that will develop concepts, create connections with prior new knowledge, concrete, real-world applications. And you'll see in the video, since she started, I don't think I've seen a moment where anybody was not moving, if you get it, where anybody was not moving. It's kind of a nice cross, to me. I think of it as a cross between an academic class and almost a gym class, because there's a lot going on in there.
But just so people are aware, can you do, the acronym STEAM stands for?
Science, technology, engineering, art, and math. Yeah, it's almost like the whole makerspace model of creativity, tying in a lot of different standards and not just science and technology. Let's take a look at the next one. She gets more to that here. What are we doing right now? And this is what you'll see, because remember, we're only 6-7 weeks into the school year. These polycarbonate robotic balls, these things are neat. You'll see these. They're the coolest little, they're really the size of a baseball.
Yeah.
And they're transparent, they're clear plastic, and they're programmable from a laptop in a number of ways that you'll see. And she's been using those, and there's one for each student when they come to class. And then, of course, we have some coding, and she's dialing into the PLTW science program as well out of her class. The engineering, you'll see in the video that with some of the engineering, she's integrating the polycarbonate robotic balls into some of the structures that she's building. Now, most of it is more of almost an obstacle course. But there's days where I go in there and they're building bridges that see how far they can extend off a desk before they let go. And they're measuring and they're looking at tolerances and things like that. I didn't want to read you every piece of that, but that's where she is right now. I will be honest and say that the program is emerging and that the curriculum is being written as we move forward, but that was to be expected. So, to present what we're doing in May right now, couldn't do it, but I can show you what we're doing right now. You want to go right to the video?
Acting film.
Of course, if Sally were here, she could give you a lot more about what they're doing with each moment in the class, but it looks like a heck of a lot of fun. And the kids are 100% engaged, and I think it's a great move, and as we refine it, we'll know more of what we need to set them up for the older kids for high school, and voc school and other places.
Very good. I love it.
That's it. That's all I had. That's what she sent me, and I told her I'd do the best I could to represent her, so.
Yeah,
Any questions?
the high school is expanding down there too. They're bringing in companies. And companies are coming in to work with the high school, with the tech kids, with the voc kids. I was reading some of that. They have a little newsletter now that they put out about Sanford and Springvale, a little newsletter. And they're talking about companies coming in and being a part of the actual learning experience, so that when the kids get out of there, they'll have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things, so, yeah.
Also have some networking already done
A
with
lot
some
of
of the local
networking,
companies.
yeah,
Be great.
yeah.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
They play that music in the classroom too?
Only when we're dancing.
Okay, the next thing we have on here is something we're gonna check each month, and this is our COVID update. And I just wanna pass each one of you one of these. This is something that FEMA, I believe it is, puts out on a regular basis. This is the one that came out on Tuesday. And what these actually show us are, what these show us are where York County stands with the whole state and what the numbers are. And it shows the numbers for each town, actually. And if you look at the first page here with a cover down at the bottom, you'll see that York County is actually the reddest right now. It has the most community transmission going on right now. If you look at the second page, let's see, this is a 7-day thing. This is just talks about vaccination rates and all that. We don't need to really look at that. But if you look at page 3, you'll see that statewide, York County and York County is second highest. Androscoggin is in number 1 place there, and goes down, as you can see, with community transmission. So Androscoggin is got the highest, and then the second highest right now is York County. So, and then if you look over on, let's see where we are here. As of Tuesday, if you look on the next page, as of Tuesday, there had been 210 cases of COVID in Acton, which, if you look at our population, which is 2,000 something, it's probably 8 or 9% of the population.
Is that, I'm sorry, is that from?
That's from the
all time?
beginning.
Okay.
That's cumulative.
Okay.
Yeah. But since Tuesday, a new one came out today, and on Tuesday, Acton had 210 cumulative. As of today, they have 218, so apparently we've got a few more fresh cases floating around town. So we just said that we were gonna look at this each month so that you can see where they are, and I'm happy to be hooked up with this website so that I get these emails. John gets them too. All the superintendents at school get them each, and sometimes they come out on a daily basis, sometimes you'll get them every 2 or 3 days. But they kind of bring you up to date on everything from hospitalization to deaths to all that stuff. But what we're really looking at for us is where York County is right now and where Acton is, and base our decisions on that. So the cases are starting to go down, and that's encouraging. But I guess they didn't go down this week in Acton, but overall they're starting to go down, and hopefully that will continue. So that's our update. Anybody want to throw in anything about that?
No, it doesn't say how many people had it and then are now naturally immune to it, you know? So that'd be interesting.
It says we've had 218 cases in Acton, so I would say that would be.
Yeah, but some people get sick and don't get recorded, because I wouldn't go to a hospital if I can fight it. I'd stay home, you know what I
Right,
mean?
well, then they wouldn't know
Right,
what those
so we
figures
really
are.
don't know what the figures
So
are.
what you're saying is you think it might be higher than it actually is in here?
Those
maybe.
numbers could be
The numbers
higher,
could be, yeah.
but it means maybe more people are naturally immune
Right. So the
now. Yeah, they have the antibodies.
Right.
And who checked them out? You don't know what shape they're in, what they had before they even got this virus. I mean, the whole thing, I
No.
can't listen to
No,
it anymore.
It's a spinning wheel, and it's gonna keep spinning until the spin starts to slow down a little bit.
As a committee, though, that wrestles with questions like masking or not, it's the York County Emergency Management Agency that sends us out, so it's a non-biased, data-driven.
Oh, no, it's just data.
Yeah.
It is just data, and
Yeah.
it changes so quickly, and it is interesting to look at, like they, for instance, have vaccination rates, and they color code them, and they also have COVID rates in each town. It's interesting to look at the vaccination rate versus the COVID rate for each town in York County. I'm just saying it's interesting. You can come to your own conclusions. But I think this is a reasonable tool for you to take a look at, because if this were to change and turn green at some point, you may want to reflect on the operations of the school
Right,
at some point.
right.
So it's something to help you make decisions.
Yep. And that's really why I gave you this, because we said we were gonna look at it every month, and this will give us something to go by each month. Next month, we'll see what the statistics are and where we are in Acton, where we are in York County, compared to the one for this month. So. Okay, let's go on now to the consent agenda, and I'll look for a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Just the update on the executive session. We should put,
Did I skip that?
no, I mean now, because you're in the discussion mode.
The consent agenda.
So we did go into executive session, and when we came
So
out.
we would report out on that
Right.
after we accept the agenda, I think, right?
Well, now you discussion.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, so we renewed John Ross's contract. That's what we
That
That was
did.
your action taken.
That was the action
That's what you
taken.
wanted to
Right,
say.
I see. Yes, exactly.
That was that.
Lots of times we go into executive session, there isn't a report.
Right,
Sometimes there is.
Right.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Any other discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Do we have any, we'll go to the superintendent's report.
I have 4 brief things. There was a piece of information that went out last night around 5:30 that said that Acton Elementary School, that an associate of Acton Elementary School has tested positive. And it's funny because I kind of checked around. Those go out a lot from a lot of schools, and we don't have many coming out of here. I do want to say this without getting into the weeds because I can't. But this situation that I need to inform people, there were 0 close contacts with students and no student was told not to come to school. I think that's important to kind of digest. Because the whole idea of running a safe school is to keep kids in school. And you're not a close contact if you're not wearing a mask. We had a situation and all kids are here. So I just wanted to let you know, and I will report out like that when that's the case. If I can de-identify the situation like I just did, I will. If I can't de-identify the situation, I won't say much. But that's the case, so I think it's another good data point to say that we're doing it pretty well here.
Good.
The second one is Sanford High School, not Sanford High School, Sanford School Department, sounds like they're interested in meeting with us next month.
Okay.
So, I put in the weekly update to you folks that as soon as they got back to me, and Matt Nelson, who's the superintendent, has had none of his school committee say no, so he put it out as, can anybody not make it? He hasn't heard anything, so he's going with the assumption they can make it. I'll make a recommendation, because we've done this a couple of ways, down there and up here. If we do a 4 o'clock meeting with an agenda where we focus on the continuation of the contract of Sanford High School and allow the Sanford High School principal, who I haven't reached out to yet, to give us some data on how our kids do like he did 3 years ago. I thought that would be a pretty healthy agenda for an hour.
Yeah,
Then we just go into this meeting.
yeah.
And I don't know if I need our administrators here or not. I think it's up to them, and I don't believe they'll be bringing all of their administrative team
No.
here. They're so big, we wouldn't have room.
No.
But I don't want to force an extra meeting for people who don't need to be there. But the school committees, the chairs, and at least the superintendent need to kind of agree that we're going to be looking at the contract. And then if it's just a subgroup or a couple of people that look at it, so be it. But I think it's important because if we don't do that, then we got a lot of work to do to look for a high school, and I don't think we want to do that. At least I got from you last time we openly talked about it, that we just want to continue a relationship and look at what the contract has to offer and make it reasonable for everybody.
So we'll draw.
That would be a public meeting.
Be a public meeting.
It'd be written almost like a workshop,
Right.
because you're not going to make any decisions as a school committee in that meeting with
No,
them.
no.
So it's a workshop.
Right. And so we'll draw up the agenda for
We
that
would.
meeting? Yeah.
We would, and I will. I just wanted to inform
Yeah.
you that as soon as Matt says,
Okay.
yeah, this is the case, we can have it here. We'll have to design the room a little differently, probably more like when Warrant and Finance is here. There'll be more people.
Yeah.
And in an hour, I think we can probably come to an agreement of what next steps is, and then we can report that out in our meeting. And if you need to vote on anything, you do it then, but I don't imagine anything will come out that requires a vote that night.
No.
We can deal with that later.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay,
Sounds good.
so I'll arrange for that for next month.
You missed.
Um,
You hurt your shoulder? You're right.
Try and swat.
Let me see you move it.
The fly was here last month. Same fly.
It's the library fly.
Library fly.
I mentioned to you also that we had somebody in line to be a person who can help in Kim's office. And I waited for the public meeting to say that we are starting on Monday with a lady named Lisa Dearborn. Lisa has a background in public school administration assistant and has worked for the superintendent's office in 57 as well as various other offices in 57, and was looking for a change, and this kind of opened up, and the job description matched nicely with what Kim was looking for. Kim and a team did the hiring interview. I did the final conversation. How's this gonna work? And yeah, we're looking forward to seeing her on Monday, right? Monday morning, and I will let the staff know in my weekly update tomorrow night, but I wanted you to hear it first. So that's the name of the person with a great skill set, and we'll bring her on with a grant-funded position for the rest of this year. Okay, that'll be good. So Kim's getting some help this year.
Glad we're getting Kim some
Yeah.
help.
Very good. And lastly, I'm very excited and pleased to say that we're gonna have trunk or treat this year. So the monster's out, and I did hear there's one at the dump, going to be the one at the dump in the town office and maybe somewhere else, and I don't know if those monsters are out yet, because we had 4 at one time, and only 2 of the monsters are really still pretty mechanically sound, one of them being in the front. So parents and kids are already dropping off and feeding the monster, which is great, and we've got some excitement amongst the staff. It's going to be October 30th, which is a Saturday. Halloween is really on a Sunday. We're gonna go 2 to 4?
I think so.
2 to 4, 2 to 5, 2 to 4?
I think 2 to 4.
We changed it 2 to 4 because originally we were looking earlier, but we moved it a little bit later so that kids could still move from what we're doing. There's a couple of big Sanford neighborhoods or churches or something that do some things, and you're doing them Saturday night. And we don't want to compete with that, so we will be 2 to like 4, and that still gives the early evening for the kids. And it's going to be inside and outside. If it's really rainy, it'll all be inside, but we're all set to go, just like normal. So that's great. And that's the end of my report.
Okay.
I think the monster at Town Hall is there.
It's functional?
Yeah.
He's eating candy?
I've seen pictures.
That's good. I haven't been out there yet. Okay.
How long do we keep, we have the tents out there. How long do you keep them up?
Andy can get into that. He just emailed the guy.
Yeah, the end of the month, the end of October, they'll be
No, I'm
taken
just
down.
wondering if that would help if we have, just in case it's that, misty
Yeah.
rain or something, you could still be out there.
If you,
Let me double check the date.
yeah, if it's as simple as, because that's already kind of like prepaid, so if you can push them off till the first week of November, we're
Yeah.
good. We could use that space. We haven't used the back, but I can see going out the back door and leaving that open. We do always shut down the doors that are right here at the
Yeah.
elementary.
Yeah.
We shut the doors to the middle, but the through to the calf, the gym, and this main hallway are always open, so that could be very accessible. Okay.
Good thinking.
I think a lot of people like to stay outside still, away from other people.
And it was always outside, but then we moved some stuff inside because of weather one
Yeah.
time. And then we're like, well, that's kind of neat. It kind
Yeah.
of changed it up, so you had some inside activities and some outside activities. Real pre-COVID days.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for any of the other administrators on their reports?
Nope.
All right, then let's move on to number 7, which is progress monitoring.
Do you need me to move, Lori?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just going to briefly share the fall data for the K2 NWEA. And then I also wanted to, if I can, hopefully, I wanted to show you the iReady diagnostic information that we have for math this year on top of the NWEA. We're not done testing grades 3 through 8 for NWEA because that is the state assessment, and the state window did not open until October 4th. So even though we had started our NWEA assessment in September, we had to pause and then do it during this state window because we are required to do the state assessment, and this year they've decided to do a fall and a spring assessment with the NWEA. So that should be done next week. Most of the kids are finished in grades 3 through 8. We just have a few stragglers that we have to get made up over the next few days, and then hopefully we can close our window and we'll be ready to share the fall data from that. There's a new report in NWEA, so it's by classroom, which is kind of neat. This is a math for Lindsay Crawford's kindergarten classroom, and what it does, it will tell you how many kids tested and have a score, where the class is percentile as a whole, and then it breaks it down by percentages. So this top one, if you can't see it, is greater than 80%. And then it's in bands, 61 to 80%, 41 to 60%, 21 to 40%, and then below the 21st percentile. And for our school-wide Title I program, our high priority kiddos would be the ones that are in that below 21% category. So when we look at this group, Lindsay's class right now, and keep in mind, so these are kids that are coming in from pre-K or not going to pre-K. Maybe they've gone to an area, pre-K school somewhere else, or not at all. So when we look at this, for initial data, it's not that bad, and it's where kind of we expect them to be, although when you see 5 kiddos already that are within that green band, that means we've got some kiddos coming in with some pretty good foundations, so. And then it will tell as a whole where her class is, 139.2, and where the national average is a 140 at this point.
Pretty cool.
So, and then we look at Kelsey's classroom, kindergarten, and where they start, and you'll see she's got quite a few at the upper end already, and then we have 3 kiddos in the below the 21st percentile. So right away we know who those kids are that we should be targeting, so that we can provide that additional support for them in the classroom. And her kids right now are scored as a class 140.7, which is just above the national average. So that's kindergarten math. Then we look at first grade math. They're kind of all over the place, which is okay. So these are the kiddos we had for the most part here in kindergarten last year. So we can take a look at that. She had, out of the 21 students, 18 have tested and have a score. So she, there might have been some kids that started, didn't finish. She hasn't been able to get back to them. They were out for whatever reason, or they're on our roster and they weren't here at the time of testing. Her class average was a 161.1, and the national average is a 160.
And at the time of testing would have been earlier this school year?
Yeah.
And I do know in those 2 classes we've just looked at, we had 1 move up and 1 move down.
Right.
Based on a lot of things.
Yes.
And this caught the data of where they were when they were in their original spots.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
Moved up and down grades?
Yes.
Yeah.
Early in the year, you make some assessments and you speak with the parents and you say, this is what we're seeing, and that's exactly how it played out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is second grade, which, knowing that we have more second graders that look like they need the math support. So when we look at, what our support staff looks like, or how Mr. DePrisco might set up his math stations, or, when we do our grouping and regrouping, and sometimes they do flex grouping. For example, in 4th grade, I don't have their results like this, but right now I know Patty and Allie are regrouping and doing like a Friday skill day. So they're taking a look at some of the skills where kids might have gaps, and they're regrouping them, and they're really working on those, at least 1 day a week. So this data informs that, who are the kiddos that need that additional support. And then we go right back into reading. So, so some of these kids in pre-K last year had a little bit of our Jolly Phonics. They used the sounds in that program last year, just introducing some of that to the kids coming up. But again, they're coming in pretty strong. Same with Lindsay's, Kelsey's classroom. First grade, it's nice to see more of the kids at the top. You've got, from the middle, that middle band, the 50th percentile and higher, we've got 14 kiddos already in that first grade classroom that are where they need to be or higher. And then we have second grade. So what that looks like for us, for the number of kids that are in our high priority, that we need to target, we're looking at, for kindergarten, 4 kiddos specifically in math. There was only 1 in reading, but that doesn't mean we'll only target that 1, obviously. We'll look then at our low priority range, which then goes from the 21st to the 50th percentile, and who's falling in that category and where are they, and we'll identify who they are. because we have Title I support again, in those classrooms during reading and literacy time. And we also have support during math time in the K-2 classroom. So we'll be able to provide additional support. Some things worth noting, we are using iReady this year as a math program. That begins with having all kids do a math diagnostic. So I'll show you a little bit about that. I have that website ready to just pull up. Students attending summer school, I did go back and look at the K-2 kiddos that were here, and I looked at their scores. If they dropped between the spring assessment and the fall assessment, it was within that margin of error. It was only by a few points. So, and they always give you an NWEA, that little bit of an error. If they take it next time, they might score here. If they take it, so there's always those few points they could be off each time. So most of those kiddos were within the margin of error, or at least maintained their level that when they left in the spring. So that was good to see, that we didn't have major dips there. That those kiddos scoring below the 21st percentile are receiving additional support. We've already started hitting that. And then all classrooms, K-2, have begun or are reviewing Jolly Phonics sounds. And Jolly Grammar, which builds on that, is being used in grades 1 through 5. So, anytime you walk 8:30 to 9 o'clock, you're walking into a K-2 and everybody's doing Jolly Phonics. Even the third graders are reviewing their sounds right now. And the vowel teams and the phonemes and everything's being just reviewed. And so they're moving quickly through that in grades 2 and 3 with the plan to get into the Jolly Grammar program. And I think the next assembly where they were going to do something with that, right? Is that they were talking about doing sounds and things?
Yeah, Rosie came up with that. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll get the whole school involved in what that looks like. But I wanted to show you, and it will probably log me out when I click into this, so I'll have to click back in, because I've already done this one. Oh, it's not going to kick me out, isn't that nice? So I can go into reports, and I can, I don't know if I can't really make this much bigger, but what it tells me is I can go to elementary school. The most recent diagnostic, obviously, is the first one. And then I can scroll down and I can look at where are we as a whole school. So 176 kids were assessed. It breaks it down by bands. So this would be at mid or above grade level is the green. This is one grade level below, which is really where you expect them to be coming in at last year's grade level. And then we want to look at who's over here in the red color, because that will be below. And then I can look down by grade level, and we can take a look at that. And then you can even go into each classroom and look even a little bit closer to where kids are. I could click further than that, and it gives you each student, and it tells you where they are by each of those areas: numbers and operation, algebraic thinking, measurement and data, geometry. Teachers can go in and click on instructional groups, and it tells them who to group together based on where they are. And then you can even click into those instructional groups, and it will tell you which activities to use in the program as you do your small group work with those kids in the classroom. So for the teachers who are using this, and we've had 2 trainings so far, and we had a teacher this week do a webinar that was voluntary during the day. She wanted to go. I got her coverage for her class, so she attended that, and it was all around how to use the diagnostic in more detail. But there's a lot of resources in here. All of the teacher resources are online here. Kids, after they take the diagnostic, they have an icon on their computer. They can click into iReady, and they could have 2 things. They have My Path, which takes them into a personalized pathway based on their diagnostic. And then they have activities that a teacher might have assigned them to do. So we have teachers that are having kids do their My Path, 10 to 15 minutes a day. And they just keep working on the skills that they need to work on based on their diagnostic. So it's personalized for them.
Nice.
So we'll see.
And you
Um,
seem to have picked up on it pretty quick. Did
yeah.
we just
Oh,
get this?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Quick study.
Yeah,
Quick study.
this is a great program. To be
Yeah.
able to
So I
guide,
think, I know Patty's here. She could speak to it. She's
Sure.
using it.
Yeah, so my kids, Ally and I use not only the NWEA information, but we use the diagnostic to go in and look at where we want our focus studies to be. So we discovered that a big chunk of her class needed more work with rounding, and so did mine. And then the other half really needed work with subtracting larger numbers. So she took the kids who needed work with rounding. I took the group that needed work with subtraction, and then we did that for 2 weeks. So this week, so tomorrow, we'll regroup them according to the next steps on the diagnostic path. We have a couple who are struggling even more, and so we put them on their pathway while we did the full group, got the full group in their pathway, and then we can one-on-one with those two to try and get them. She takes one, I take one, and we'll work forward with them. So there's so much information in there. The kids love going into their pathway, doing their thing, and I've already have assignments in, Ally put some in hers wherever they need practice. So they have assignments. Sometimes I'll say jump on your pathway, sometimes I'll say you pick. So there's so much to this program that's so helpful to all of us. And the kids have the routine now, so that we, when we do our try it, we read it 3 times. A lot of times we'll read it once, talk about it, and then I'll have them pair read it to each other before they start in. So lots of good habits that the kids are already picking up. So, and selfishly, it is everything that I have been doing and wanting to share. And since I'm in a classroom and very happy this year, it's nice to know that the program does it for me. So.
Nice.
So
Yeah,
it's good.
the emphasis all the way down, K up through 6th grade, is on the math practice of really understanding what the problem's asking, allowing kids to solve it the way that makes sense to them, and then really about sharing all the strategies, and really having kids solve it in multiple ways, which is different for some. I had to do a session for the ed techs because they wanted to know more about it. So that was helpful because they always want to jump in and show them like the algorithm right away. And I'm like, no, we need to build their understanding first of why that algorithm works. And then yes, it becomes more efficient for them, but not until they understand it. So we'll see.
Looks good.
That's very good.
Hopefully.
That's it.
I have a question. Those first NWEA slides, the colorful ones that you've done, is that the new reports that you're getting?
Yes, and so there's a new report in the program, yes, that the teachers can access.
Did you doctor that to make it look that way for
No.
us tonight, or did you pull it right from
No,
NWEA?
right from NWEA.
Because I hadn't seen that. I didn't know what you
Yeah.
were going to do tonight. So,
Yeah.
I knew what you were going to do, but I didn't know what the details were.
Yeah.
So for me, that one made the most sense ever to me sitting here. You've done this for how many
For
years?
charts and
Yeah.
Yeah,
graphs.
so I looked at that, I'm like, oh, this,
Yeah.
I don't have to really overthink
Now,
this.
that's the top
That
of
was
it.
great.
When you scroll down,
Yeah.
you get each kid
Yeah.
and their band, but the summary is at the top.
So they must have had some feedback because that was great. That was, I appreciate it. And it's-
Yeah.
Compared to what we've
Yeah.
seen.
And for the school committee, the iReady, this is exactly on par with your proficiency
Yeah.
taste. I mean, this is, think how far we've come.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's all on the line. So thank you, Lori, very good. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. It'll be interesting to see in the spring, to be able to, compare these
Right.
with the others in the spring.
Yep.
Okay. Everybody all set with progress monitoring? All right, then let's go on to committee reports, and we'll start with the policy committee.
Well, we have 7 new ones, not new, 5 new, but there are 7 total. And Kim does a lot of work on this. She hears a lot from the state, and a lot of this stuff comes from the state. All this is legal things. We have EEAA, Vehicle Use Policy, that's a new one. EEBA, Acton School-Owned Vehicles, that's a new one. Then we have JG, Student Discipline, that's a new one. All of these are governed by laws, is student. And JGD, Suspension, that's a new one. JGE, Expulsion of Students, that's a new one. Then you have JFK, Disciplinary Removal of Students and with Disabilities. That's not new, but we did have that, but it was updated. And JKF, Disciplinary Removal of Students with Disabilities Procedure. So we had a lot of pieces of paper, but these are printed out. They're on back to back, so it's a little thinner that you see. So some of these were back from what? 1999. I mean, I got the original book, so we don't need that anymore. No, the new ones were the vehicle ones, because now we have vehicles.
So it looks like the new ones are, we have 4 new ones or 5?
5.
Okay, so I only have,
Well, they're on the back.
it's on
That's
the
why
back.
I thought this was awful thin. I mean, I got stacks.
The original.
Stacks of paper here. No, but stacks of, no, I threw the originals away. That had about 20 sheets of paper. So, but I left them here.
Are you looking for the discipline one?
Which one are you looking for?
I have
We got E.
JG and JGE.
JG. Yep, JGE, yep. And what else?
Those are new. Then I have EEAE, that's new.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
CA, that's new. That's on the back here. The back of EEAE.
Okay, yeah, that was the one that I missed. Yes. So I'll look for a motion to accept those new ones for, as a first reading.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
The discussion is, I have some little like hyphens and things that need to
I
be
checked the
cleaned
spelling. The
up.
spelling's okay.
Spelling is, but sometimes when you have like school-owned, that should be hyphened and different things. I will tell.
What's hyphen?
Huh? Don't worry about it.
Oh,
Little things, but I want to correct it and I will tell Kim.
Before your
which,
second vote.
which one on?
Grammarly.
Which,
Don't worry, like here.
where?
At some places, we have superintendent, principal with a hyphen, but other places,
Oh.
there's a slash. Let's get it together.
Just look at the
And
consistency.
Just,
Yeah,
yeah,
consistency, yeah.
just stuff like that.
Okay.
Oh, I actually have a question.
Okay.
On the agenda, it has EEAA, and on the papers, it says EEAE.
Oh, it should be E, sorry.
This one, on the
It should
agenda.
be on the agenda,
Should have been an E.
EEAE.
That was it.
EEAE. Yep.
8.1.2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jen, you want to make note of that? I just
Yep.
want to make sure we get it right in the minutes.
I already did it.
Beautiful, thank you.
Okay, and now we are ready to look at,
To vote. No?
yeah, we haven't voted, have we? Any other discussion on the new ones?
No.
All right, all those in favor?
For the first read.
For the first read, yeah. That's the motion was.
Yep.
So now we're looking at expulsion of JKF and JKFR, which are updates removal of students with disabilities and the procedure for that.
So any change is hyphenated in bold. So like JFK, the only thing is I added the reference.
Yeah.
And the date. So that one's not really much. On the JFKR, the only change is on D, so it'd be C,
E below.
yeah, D
Yeah.
below. There was just that thing, and I added, again, the reference back. And that's it.
So those are
Those are,
updates.
so I'll look for a motion to accept JFK, disciplinary removal of students with disabilities, and JKFR, the removal of students procedure, for a second reading for adoption.
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Okay? it's been
Can I
moved and-
just ask, because you just said JFK?
No, JKF.
Thank you so much.
I had JFK in my
See, I'm not
brain.
the only one who gets dyslexic as much as numbers are.
I must have been thinking of, John F. Kennedy, that's what I'm used to saying JFK, so. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we accept those for adoption. All in favor? Or no? Okay. Okay, let's move on now to 8.2, and we'll have a report from the Long-Range Planning
Sorry,
Committee.
Judy, can you wait?
What?
Did you?
I thought that this was a first read, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were adopting it. I was gonna suggest to remove the word disabled under AA. I don't think that word is necessary, because it's reference, students with disabilities is the appropriate reference to students. So I was gonna do that behind the scenes and not bring it up at the meeting, because I thought this was a first read, I apologize.
Students with disabilities.
Under AA, JKER,
Oh, under the procedure.
yeah, under the procedure, see under AA.
Yeah.
And everywhere else in the procedure, they refer to the students as students with disabilities. Does that make sense?
In the event that the student with disabilities IEP.
Either that, or you can just say students IEP, because you already
That's-
know that a student has an
Take out the
IEP. Just take the word
Yeah.
disabled out. That's what I was
Are you
going to
okay with
suggest. I'm sorry that I.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Amend your
Where was
motion.
Right, can I just amend the motion? I'd like to amend my motion to remove the word disabled from JKFR, section AA. Remove the word disabled.
Is it just that one section?
Is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just that one sentence. Everywhere else, the reference is correct, in my
Okay,
opinion.
so.
Thank you for pointing it out.
So Mary,
Yeah, I'll
So
second
Mary-
it.
Section A, capital A, lowercase a.
ADA, yeah.
AA. Capital A, lowercase a.
so Mary, you.
I'll second it.
You seconded that. Any further discussion? All those in favor? So moved. Okay, now we'll go to the Long-Range Planning Committee report.
Yes, we met just before this meeting. So we're looking at the different long-range planning, capital improvements. We have the boiler that we just had a problem with, but now, we got to worry about other boilers that are just as old. Okay. We have the kitchen freezer problem. So we have, what, 2 freezers, and we need to look at the second freezer, which is the same age.
So basically what happened is, there's a freezer and a cooler. And the cooler died, and we replaced that and fixed it. But the freezer was built the same time that the cooler was, and they're the same age. It's holding on by a thread.
Yeah.
And so the whole point is, hopefully, before the end of the year, to be able to find a way to replace that one. They both, they both had to be replaced, but we could only afford one at this point.
So when you look at the boiler, it's, we're putting in about 65,000, so it's a lot of money. So we're thinking of putting in a separate article to pay for that once we do our budget, but we'll see. We're looking at roof upgrades, the kitchen dishwasher, which is probably 20 years old. Sidewalks are still on our list, and security panels still on our list. So we are trying to put them in the years we want to get them done, and we put it out, approximately how much money right now, but who knows what it'll be. Yeah, so, we keep just looking into other things, long range.
And we did draw down on the capital reserve fund
Yes,
to do the first boiler.
right.
And there was some money left over in that fund, quite a bit from the water pumps from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so 41,072 we had to use for the
Right.
boiler problem that we had in August, so.
So it's at zero, so we probably would also have to look at maybe reloading it. There's a term there, I'm sure, better than reloading it, but we'll probably have to grapple with that in the budget season too. Because we need to have that in case something else breaks that you don't anticipate. That's what it's for.
Yeah, so that was good that we had it there, and we were able to get it, fixed right before school started. So it's good to have the capital reserve fund. That's it.
But yeah, thank you to Kim too for putting this together. She keeps these spreadsheets updated, and when we meet, all the information is put out for us, so it's very helpful.
Where are we on the, on those new air?
The air handlers that we purchased through COVID relief
Yeah.
funding, we have the air handlers here, and now we have grant money that will be available, or it is available,
It is available,
Install.
to facilitate the
installed.
installation, which we're
Yeah.
planning on doing over the summer months.
Agenda item 9.2 will give you the breakdown of that new grant.
Okay. That's good. All right, well, thank you, Long Range Planning Committee.
Good meeting today.
So we'll move on to number 9, which is new business, and Sanford School Committee.
I think
We
I
already
covered that in my
covered
update.
Okay.
So we can, if it's okay in the notes, Jen, you can say,
Yeah.
see superintendent update. It's all there. Thanks, I didn't, right, got them under
Okay,
that too soon.
all right, so then we'll move to 9.2, which is
Kim, do you have
the...
the printouts? So, as mentioned, we are now able to access the ARPS grant, and there's a lot of information that needs to go out, there's groups that need to meet, and then we have to get approved, reapproved, so we're finally at the point we can draw down on the grant now, which is great. I want to thank, the whole administrative team that got together to think about, how do we want to execute what we said we were going to do and who's going to lead the charge. So that's not what you have in front of you. What you have in front of you is the commitment of monies and where they're going. And I was going to do a fancy 2 or 3 slide PowerPoint view, but then I had a discipline issue this afternoon that ate up almost my entire afternoon. So I just simply asked him, would you mind just putting together where the money is going? And then if the committee has any questions, we can pretty much talk through what that part of the grant is and what our vision is, or what our execution of that money is going to be, because we may already be doing it, such as Andy knows he's going to be paying for the labor to get those installed when the timing is right.
Hold for staff, what's that mean?
So Kim, is that what you wrote for the piece on the sign?
Right.
Yeah.
So we,
You want to tell what you want to just update the committee on what we found about trying to put in the new sign after we had done all the research of getting ourselves a new sign.
right. So when we started looking at the sign and Mike started putting the RFP together and I was reading the RFP and it's just how he was wording it, and then I went, so I called the town and I said, is there a zoning ordinance? Does Acton have a zoning ordinance sign? Because we do in Merrick, and it's very controversial at times. And yes, Acton does have one. And what we wanted to put on the sign, be able to use with the sign, being animated, being able to put information out, let
Like
it scroll
Sanford.
and all that stuff, that's not allowed in Acton.
No, you can't do animation, but you can put message. You can't do all these crazy scrolling things, yes.
Right. So the sign that we were looking at was to do that, so like it
Ah.
would scroll back. Yeah, so.
No, you would never do that. You should have
No.
just...
So we just, at this point, put the sign on hold. And because if you look at the first one with the in-person instruction, this is actually for the second year with the new hires, which really doesn't, I don't know if it would, you know, it's close, so it's easier to hold on to that 25 and maybe reevaluate where that actually would go, but we can, or actually Lori can go back in and reallocate it if we need to move it to another area at this point. We do have to do some type of family engagement, so again, we'll have to be looking, but this does not have to be drawn down until the end of 2024, so we have time. So it's kind of good to see how this year goes and how we budget into next year and where we'll take the rest of these funds, but
So what kind of a sign could we have then?
basically. it's
You could always go for a variance, don't worry.
Okay,
Atta girl.
Well, yeah, you know.
so we can get what we want?
No.
No, we can't.
That
do
would
the
be a
scroll.
distraction. I can understand where all
Yeah.
this jumping stuff
And
would be.
that's basically why a lot
Yeah.
of small towns especially don't have animated signs, because they don't want animated light that can
That's
go
right.
into your neighbors.
Attract.
They don't want
That's
it
right.
distracting cars. They don't need, you know, somebody driving a.
No, a lot of the ordinance also have, you know, you can only change it once a day, you know, so it's not always changing. so-
Right, right.
so.
So it's, that Acton, I read Acton's, I actually pulled it up off the website and talked to the code enforcement officer and what we had in our RFP.
No.
I certainly do not want to put up something and to have him come take it down.
No.
That would be a waste of money, so,
You always go for the sign permit first.
yeah.
The way the grant is managed by the state via the feds is there's a lot of checks and balances in this grant. Unlike some of the other ESSER money we got, it seemed like hurry up and spend. This one has a longer sunset, and they seem like they're way more on top of every word you write. So there's a team that looks at this, and we either revise or review. The word I use is review. You revise if it's recommended, because things change. So this is what we say now. The sign's kind of a what-if kind of thing. It's kind of a placeholder now. We have a couple of years to spend the money. We may find we need to divert those funds somewhere else, which isn't a bad thing. Some of the things we think we want to do that are in there may not be feasible. If I can't find bus drivers, then we're not offering transportation for something, then maybe we're not doing it. I'm just throwing out the what-ifs, but it's not as simple as the team gets together and we make a change. It has to be kind of thought through, processed, then put into through Lori to the state, and they might say, no, you can't. Or they might say, rewrite it again for the 17th time. So it's not easy. Like, we've been approved for what you've seen. This is a flexible grant. We may have to. Here's the thing, though. We have people's salaries and benefits riding on some of this.
Yeah.
So that can't change, because I need these people in the building. They have kids in front of them, and we're doing really well. So that is static. There is some fluidity. Andy's money to get those things installed, that's not fluid, that's static. But is it gonna happen next week? Probably not. It's probably gonna happen this summer when he can actually be in the building and making noise during the day, because he can't right now. But we know we're not in any kind of hurry. I just wanted to preface that the last couple seemed like we had to really hurry up.
Yes.
And there was governance, but it was kind of like, we'll just let you know. This is a little different. The tone, the oversight's way different on this one, and it's the last one. So that's where we are right now with it. And as this team meets, and if we have to make any changes, we'll update you, just like you do with the COVID. We'll update you on the grant. And the ad team met last week, 2 weeks ago. We could go today, and divvied out what we were gonna do, and that's when we discovered the sign wasn't gonna fly the way we wrote it. Because Mike, I said, okay, go Mike, get at it, went out, measured it, did a bunch of stuff, only to find out the way it was written isn't gonna work for us in Acton. So we'll have to rethink it. Took a long time. Remember when we first heard about this money, and I said, I'm really glad we didn't hinge anybody on that money to hire in August? We're just starting to draw down on it now, and it's a spend it and then get it reimbursed model, just like all the others. So that second grant that we got was carrying some of the people we hired. And then this one is in addition to carry the rest and them into the following year. Okay, so if no questions on that, I think this is probably gonna be like a quarterly update for you. I don't see that we're gonna come to you every month with this.
Right.
Probably be something more like quarterly or trimester. If we make a change, if it's status quo, you probably won't hear much from us at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, when I do the grants update,
It'll be in
it's
there.
gonna be in there.
Right.
So anytime I do.
On your monthly reports.
Yeah, whenever I draw it down, it's gonna be there.
Right, the numbers will be reported, but whether it's gonna be a 5-week after-school program or a 7-week after-school program, and it's 3 nights a week versus 2 nights a week. Yeah, those kinds of things.
Details.
I think that kind of shift in programming and how we're really gonna spend the money, depending on who's willing and can and wants to and how many kids, that happens in real time. We wrote a grant, got approved, now we need to see if we can execute it anywhere near closely to the way we envisioned it, with a team of people. Okay. Jen, can you make me the sheet that I need to fill in? Done, isn't it? Perfect, because we're right about that time. I just wanted, before I lose you, I want to make sure I had that.
No old business, right? All right
I
then.
did not.
I will look for a motion to go into executive session as per 1 MRSA
What time is it?
405 6A, personnel.
Oh, exactly. Go ahead.
I will move to go into executive session at 6:01. No,
Oh,
too late.
It did, just changed.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
All those in
For
favor?
personnel matters.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, for personnel matters.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Yes, we all,
Just stretch my legs out, guys, I'll be right back. I gotta run to my office.